Warning, this content may be disturbing to some audiences. Subscribe, if you dare. I just wrote a $17,000 check to pay off my outstanding student loans earlier this year. Hey everybody, welcome to ANECDOSED. People ask Reddit. People who believe in forgiving student loans. What should happen to those who paid their way through college? Number 1. Commenter. I don't think anyone with a reasonable understanding of the banking business, contracts and personal responsibility would support forgiving all student loan debt. Person B. You seem to be forgetting that most people don't seem to have a reasonable understanding of the banking business, contracts and personal responsibility. Commenter. I was referring to the fact that anyone who might be in a position to change the status quo probably does, and thus it won't happen. Person B. You're probably right. But the thing that scares me is that there are plenty of politicians out there. The guys who might be in a position to change the status quo, who are more worried about pleasing the majority than actually protecting the economy. When the masses start yelling, they start listening. I'm not saying this will necessarily happen, and I'm not saying that doing what your constituents want is necessarily a bad thing. That's what a representative democracy is all about. It just worries me. Person C. My wife works for a bank as one of those people you call to talk about like fees on your account or something. She says some of the people are freaking morons. She walked this girl through math and came up with the same conclusion, that she basically didn't compensate for the amount of money she used, and she was still like, where's my money? When are you guys going to deposit it? Well ma'am, it is right here, and this is what you have done since, but why isn't it showing up? My wife comes home with one of those I don't want to live on this planet anymore stories each day. Number 2. Commenter. I honestly have not seen tons of posts calling for forgiving all student loan debt. Most people are just asking for some reform in the system. I don't have any links offhand, but I think it's pretty obvious that the student loan system is pretty corrupt and has shielded itself from a lot of regulation. Couple that with how much tuition has gone up in like the last 10 years and you have a major problem. Yes, people who work hard or give their dreams so they don't go into debt should be praised, and those that recklessly take out loans should not be rewarded. I think I am somewhere in the middle. I went to law school and racked up over $200,000 in debt. There is no such thing as going to a cheap law school because, other than some UCs and a few state schools, most charge close to $40,000 a year. I worked during school, but most of the jobs were for free. Unlike undergrad, I knew very few people who worked significant hours at a paying job while doing well in law school. Bottom line is that even if the circumstances were different, I would have come out of school with massive loans. I don't think it is an inherent right to rack up debt pursuing a career, so my loans shouldn't be forgiven. At the same time, it shouldn't cost $120,000 plus to get my degree, and I don't think my loans shouldn't be racking up 8% interest a year. As far as discharging student loans in bankruptcy, you can thank the lobbying power of their industry for that. It doesn't make sense to me to say you signed up for the loans. You have to take responsibility, but then allow people who rack up massive debt in other areas, credit cards, cars, houses, etc., to discharge all/almost all of that debt. Person B. Indeed. I would never in a million years suggest that student debt loans should be forgiven at the drop of a hat, but it would be nice it were treated like other forms of debt. It almost takes an act of Congress to get an individual debt forgiven. Not even bankruptcy can protect you. No other debt gets so much special fuck you treatment as student debt. Number 3. Commenter. I'm one of those kids that worked 30 to 40 hours a week to put myself through school. It was hard, but made me a stronger person, and now that I only work full time, it's like every day is a half day. I'd be fine with tax credits but not with forgiving the loans. Person B. I agree. I'm going through school right now. I work 40 hours a week and go to school full time. I am in no debt for college at all. I would hate if everyone just got their loans forgiven because hell, I have been able to pay every semester. Why can't they get a job and go to school? It takes a little longer, but oh well, I feel a lot better about myself because of it. Person C. I'm paying off my student loans now, and to be honest, I'd feel guilty as hell if they forgave them. It's unfair to you, and frankly it's not what I signed up for either. I'm proud of working for what I have, and by the same token, not expecting anything I haven't earned. I took that money with the full expectation of paying every red cent back, in order to have the luxury of going to school and not having to worry about a full-time job on top of it. A tax credit for all recent graduates for a certain amount of time, maybe based on the time it takes for the average graduate to pay off their loans, sounds like it'd be the most fair. Help us out and allow the ones who've already worked probably twice as hard to reap the most benefit. Number 4. Commenter. Student loan debt used to be dischargeable in bankruptcy. The main limitation was that you needed to be at least 7 years out of school. That is still the rule, I believe, in Canada. That seems to be a good solution, but there are a lot of other solutions. Obviously, mass forgiveness of debt without consequence makes bad policy. But making student loans permanently inescapable regardless of circumstance is also bad policy. There are plenty of ways to use the bankruptcy code to allow a discharge. The obligors should be forced to prove that they made efforts to pay the loans, are suffering a true hardship, or have been out of school for some period of time. They should suffer the credit consequences of bankruptcy, and have their situation reviewed individually. Person B. It seems somewhat ironic that student loans of all things are non-dischargeable. It's possible to have loans for cars, homes, and whatever you buy on a credit card discharged if you're in harsh enough of a circumstance, sometimes preventable, sometimes not. Of course, many of these people are judged for living beyond their means and buying more homes/cars/clothes/gadgets than they could afford. Our society doesn't have the same attitude towards education. People are told that getting a college degree is a decision where they can't go wrong. But if they end up in a bad financial situation because of their student loans, there is absolutely no way out, short of a limited number of extenuating circumstances. I think schools that take student loan funds need to be held more accountable. The worst offenders are for-profit colleges that aggressively sell low-quality and insanely overpriced education to people who don't know any better. Why not refuse to give student loans to new students in schools/programs that graduate people who end up defaulting on their loans? That way schools would need to either improve their programs to where they are actually worth something, or stop offering them altogether. Number 5. Commenter. I have a huge amount of student loans, but I don't want to be bailed out. Well, I do, but I know it would be a horrible policy. What I would like is some system where student debt is managed better. Like in Australia, you only pay if you have a job that pays a certain amount and only for a certain time. I think I heard 25 years, then it's forgiven. Or maybe a work program that I can work for a couple of years for a relatively low-paying job related to my skill that pays off my loans. Or as others have said, tax credits. I don't expect my debt to just go away, but the government is doing nothing to curb the crazy rise in costs of education. The least they could do is organize a way to help recent grads. I would love to have more than $125 for food a month. Thank God my parents are supportive and help me out a bit yet. Note, I got a job right out of college that pays $43K a year, and I suspect within a couple of years I will have things under control, but this first year or two is going to be cutting it close, and I will probably build up some credit card debt in a month, thus the parents helping. Food is good. Person B. Reduce the interest rate. How is this not discussed more? I'll pay more than $200,000 in interest before my loans are paid off in 10 years because my rates are 8.5% and 6.8% under the federally guaranteed loan programs. The government could reduce the burden on recent graduates significantly by offering refinancing at a lower rate to borrowers who actually pay back the loans. There is no reason a non-dischargeable debt should be paired with a 6% plus rate in this economy. Person C. A program like that is already available, called income-based repayment. It's only for federal loans though. Not a lot of people seem to know about it. Commenter. Yeah, I didn't qualify for a lot of federal loans. In fact, the federal loans I have are pretty reasonable as far as interest rate and payment. It's the private loans that cause most of the stress. After reconsolidating the payments will be within my budget, barely. A few have programs that help out, but there is no move by the government to encourage lending companies to make school affordable to recent grads. Thank God I picked a useful major or I'd be screwed. Number 6. The people calling to forgive student loans just want their own loans forgiven. I have been working since I was 17 to pay for college. There are a lot of people like me. It can be done, it just requires determination. Number 7. Here in New Zealand, student loans are managed by a government department. They don't accrue interest and you're not obligated to even start paying it back until you earn over $20,000 a year. This gets people through their education and into the workforce without the pressure of debt, but they still end up paying for their education when they have the means to do so. It was an experimental system that immediately proved to be a net gain to both the economy and the well-being of students and graduates. Number 8. I would just like to know why costs are rising so quickly. I went to a great school in the 90s and came out with about 12G, pre-interest, with a 5% interest rate, in debt and paid a little more than $100 a month for 10 years to kick it. Why are people paying 20% interest when banks are paying 5% interest to savings accounts? I guess the risk is high with a bunch of unemployed young people is pretty high, but at what point does jacking the rate on your payers increase your own risk? Number 9. Forgive no student loan debt. Maybe let people repay it at a lower interest rate, but no. You used the money, you signed an agreement to repay it. Either pay your damn debt, or go file bankruptcy and deal with that headache. I just wrote a $17,000 check to pay off my outstanding student loans earlier this year. Make sure to share your personal story in the comments below and have the opportunity to be featured in a future video. Also, if you like these topics, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification button to continue seeing more content like this every day. See you next time.